Hi, I'm Dean Sage.
And I'm Jack Hervin.
And this is Show Me Your Deck,
a podcast where we explore the intersections of oracles and chakras,
using our original decks to create new insights.
Episode 55. Boy, I'm having a morning. I can't get it together at all.
Oh, we almost couldn't record because my deck was like, no, not my card deck, my like audio deck was just like, no, it's all right. I just don't feel like it.
It's Saturday morning.
Yeah. But I mean, it's funny because you're like, usually you're in your hat, and like me, like I just woke up like an hour ago, like, well, an hour and 40 minutes ago, but I just woke up, and you're usually kind of like, casual in your hat, but like today, like your hair's done and you look something all fresh, but then at the same time you're like,
I just can't think today. So heads up, if we get a woo-woo kind of, reading, even more woo-woo than usual, it's because I am woo-woo. I didn't get enough sleep.
Oh, well, there's your problem.
Yeah. But I did take a lovely shower and wash my hair and did my hair, so and all the rest of it. Like, how many times did I forget to plug in my microphone?
Well, you watch me because like I have to break mine down because I have children, four little fur babies that will come and bite on cords and stuff. So I have to take all the expensive equipment and put it away every time. So you watch me build my whole system.
And I just sat
and
there
you just sat there and watched. And I'm like, "Where's your microphone?"
I was like, "Oh, I guess I better get mine." But I can just swing mine around and plug it in. So.
Yeah, you've got a permanent setup sort of. I used to have that. I used to leave the stuff up before I had babies.
Yeah, I have a clamp that holds the microphone base in place, and then I have this arm that swings around, and so I don't need as much time. And I just it didn't occur to me that I hadn't set up yet.
It's funny. Well, like I said, episode 55. We're rocking and rolling through this.
We're gonna get there, wherever there is.
5 times 11. I don't know if that means something to any of you, but
well, 5s are cool. 11s are cool.
11s are cool.
Super cool.
Yes,
super cool.
Fives have a lot of like change, energy, like movement, like sometimes even conflict. And then 11's
It's
like
interesting you say that, because I was like, when I think of 5s, I'm like, it takes 5 fingers to ball up in a fist, just a punch a bitch. It's one of those kind of days, y'all. Yes.
But yeah, no, 11's like a superposition number. People like 11s. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Well,
I've always had it's interesting with 11, because on the one hand, it's the start of a new cycle, but on the other hand, it's the first step of deviation away from perfection. So it's like, it just depends on the day, I guess.
Well, and it's also because it's an 11 and a 2. Like, because in numerology, they start to add the digits together when they get complex digits. They start adding things together, like your birthday. Like they add it all down until they get to like either a single digit or a couple approved double digits. And 11 is an approved double digit.
And if I remember correctly, the numerology that I used to study was medieval European, and 2 was not good because it deviated from 1, which was the source, which is God. And so 2 was like kind of bad, actually. So 11 was kind of bad. It's all about deviation.
I think in the new woo-woo, 2s and 11s, like they're both good. There isn't really any like bad woo-woo, which I think is appropriate. Like that's why I've started with the original tarot, because I'm like, there's not an entire suit of badness. Like there's not like an entire suit of like, well, your life is gonna suck now.
Well, I mean, an entire suit of badness. I mean, if you go to Men's Warehouse, you can find an entire suit of badness. Okay, we need to start, because I'm kind of wonky today.
All right, well then roll the dice. Let's see what happens.
Oh God, roll the dice. Okay, the tetrahedron of doom approaches. Oh, and of course, it starts with deck number 1. We're starting sassy right out of the gate. Okay, what number? Where are you going? 44. Oh, I love 44. Well, I mean, I love 44 in the other decks. I don't remember what it is in this one.
I hate 44.
44 is 8. Let's see, 44. Yes, I love 44. 44 is the inversion of 7, so it's the crown and and the root, but instead of an obelisk, it's a cathedral. But the sassy version of that, let's see what this is. So we've got purple, ether, crown, I know as it is impacted by red, earth, I am. So how the way you project morality or have a sense of purpose is influenced by your identity and your sense of self and health and balance. So you are a progress in work. Compliment yourself. Brag about yourself. That's today's mantra. You are a progress in work. Compliment yourself. Brag about yourself. That's today's mantra. I like 44.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's a nice change from 7. Not that 7, I mean, 7's awesome, but 44.
Well, I think for some reason, and maybe the world is telling us something, we keep getting this intersection of crown and root. Like, I wonder if we're being told, like, hey, by the way, align your chakras, maybe.
Oh, God. Mine are so cattywampus right now. Have you heard that word lately?
No. That's okay. You mentioned negative ghostwriter earlier, and I was like, there is an entire generation of people that have no idea what that means.
I know. It's a negative ghostwriter.
Yes. All right. So self, but interesting, self and selfless, right? Like this is the intersection of those two concepts. And I like the chakra systems where like your root chakra is kind of like below your body. Like it's not quite in your body, but it's like sort of below. Like if you were sitting on the ground, it would actually be sort of in the earth. Mm-hmm. And then your crown chakra sort of sits above. Like it's not directly on the top of your head, but it's like above it. Mm-hmm. To me, I like that conception because I think it for me, it completes the metaphor, which is the other and the self and the groundedness, and like, you know, both the groundedness and the connection are somewhat outside your body. So like you have to kind of expand, you know, your aura or your, you know, whatever, your energy, you have to kind of expand a little bit outside the confines of your body to truly meet with that energy.
Yeah, and then it incorporates you and integrates you into the world, and it's not you just standing or sitting above reality and standing below the ephemeral. You are actually part of it, which is what 7 and 44 are going on and on about, is that you are actually in both places and made of both places, and you incorporate both places, both the tangible and the intangible simultaneously. So the idea that you expand beyond yourself in both directions, and in all directions, is apt.
So your sassiness here is about the self. So I think great. There's our context, the self. So we're going to be talking about you, us, we, individually, right? Each person individually. So this is more of an interior setting for today's readings, which is appropriate because I think both of us are inside ourselves. Mm-hmm. I have this music, which maybe I'll release one day. I made music that we were supposed to use like underneath the podcast. So I guess it's sort of like a theory, like, ooh, and then sort of like ambiance music. So I listened to that before the podcast now to kind of like, center, and, as I was doing that, like my brow was like tingling. I'm like, okay, so we're gonna get into some stuff today.
We're gonna zendify.
All right, so say the profession one more time, or the projection.
You are a progress in work. Compliment yourself. Brag about yourself. That's today's mantra. Okay,
so progress in work, like that, very much like that. I like it when you turn things on their head. It's very nice. I like that literarily. So you've got yourself is in focus, and brag about yourself. Do we think it's to ourselves, to others? Where do you see is there any kind of outward motion here?
Well, if it's today's mantra, then I guess it depends on how you would want to express that mantra. Do you want to say it aloud so other people can hear it? Or is it a reminder for yourself, internal, like an internal dialogue? I suppose it could be whatever you need. If you're in a situation where you feel like you have to assert a boundary, then yeah, external. If it's something where you feel like you have to bolster yourself, then you can keep it private.
Well, I think boundary is an interesting word to use here because you do need to have internal boundaries, right? Like you can't just ruminate, right, on things. You can't just, get stuck on a thing and just keep going and, beating yourself up and up and up and up and up, or down and down and down and down, really. And so setting an internal boundary can be just as effective as setting an external boundary. It's sort of pushing stuff away and be like, nope, this is out of bounds. Like this is beyond what I am going to allow.
That makes sense. So whether it's internal or external boundaries still have consequences. And they're like guardrails. Boundaries aren't necessarily like pens that you hedge something inside and keep it sequestered necessarily. It can be a guardrail.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think in the external sense, it's sort of saying these are the things that I will allow into my space, into my world, and these are the places that I will not allow people in or things in. And the idea is that you sort of say, this is the boundary, this is how we interact, right? You and me, this is how we interact. If you cross that boundary, now I'm going to let you know. Mm-hmm. That's crossing the boundary. I'm going to establish the boundary with you. And then the idea is that good neighbors, keep fences correctly, mm-hmm. right? Like this is my space. I'm very willing to meet you in public spaces, and we can talk. Like you just had that thing with your neighbors before we got started.
Oh yeah, that was nice.
You can interact, but like they're not going to like come up in your house and like play on your stereo.
No, not without an invitation. It's interesting that we're having this discussion because this past week I've been learning the principles of septed, and that is I don't know if you call it a process or a philosophy or a practice, but it looks at the ways in which safety and security can be created in spaces and neighborhoods by way of how would you describe this? By way of passive looking, by way of shaping the environment in order to affect behavior in subtle ways. And there's a concept that it delineates for public space, semi-public space, and private space. Mm. The sidewalk, for example, is public space. The path that goes from the sidewalk to your front door, so your front yard and your porch, and the door itself is semi-public space. This is the way in which the mailman comes up and delivers your mail, or the way in which your neighbors can wave hello as you're sitting on your porch, or what have you. It's not really effectively your space yet. I mean, technically it's like, get off my lawn, but it's a lawn. It's not really private. Private is what's behind the door.
Right.
And the experience I just had was with a neighbor across the way singing OPP by Naughty by Nature, and the hey ho, and I went out on my balcony, was doing it too, and we had a moment, and it was fun. But that was that is what semi-public space is for. That's where you interact with people from a position of safety. Mm. And it's a controlled environment, but it's not secure. And if we were thinking in terms of being a progress in work and what you do and do not share from your internal self, it's reminding me of septet in that we do have public emotional spaces and semi-public emotional spaces and private emotional spaces, and what's appropriate and what's available at each juncture. Mm-hmm. What are you willing to allow? Like when you're walking down the sidewalk, you have no presumption of privacy.
Which is different in other places, by the way. This is just to note here, like in America, people just record you, take pictures of you, like it's absolutely okay.
In China,
yeah, and South Korea I think has some restrictive areas, and that's interesting because it does get to a question. Like Americans, we just sort of assume that that's okay, but is it okay that I can be recorded going about my daily life and posted on the internet and ridiculed or lauded or whatever the intention is? Like, is that fair? Should I not have a say in that? Should I not, have a recourse for that? Or is it just, well, you're in public, so the only time that you can be secure is if you're locked in your house, and if you come out of your house, well, it's all fair game.
Yeah, and that's good to know. It's still the situation on the ground, whatever it philosophically should or shouldn't be. It's what the situation is, at least here. So it's something to consider. And I'm of the opinion that there's a middle ground between what the Chinese expect versus what the Americans allow. That, like in China, somebody can come up and, if I understand this correctly, I could be wrong. If somebody sees you recording something and they're in the frame, they can demand your phone or something kind of severe like that. I might be misunderstanding it, but they don't have that same expectation of vulnerability.
Well, they have an extra expectation, actually. Like if you want to phrase it that way, they have an extra expectation of privacy in that you don't have the right to film them. You don't have the right to, and I think this is good, right? Because we have a situation where we're talking about, maybe boundaries with others. Like you could have a person in your life that is a influencer, and it's perfectly fine to set a boundary to say, I don't want to be in your videos, right? Like that's perfectly fine to say. And if they put you in their video, even after you've said that, that's crossing a boundary, regardless of whether it was legal or illegal or allowed or ethical or unethical, right? This is a good example. You set a boundary. I don't want to be in your video. I don't want you to record me and use it for your content. That's a perfectly good video or a perfectly good boundary.
I'm seeing some videos lately of boyfriends, and one is definitely more enthusiastic about being seen than the other. Mm-hmm. And it's not just one couple. This is starting to happen with some regularity in my feed, where it is quite obvious that one of them is not enthused by this whole social media thing and has been roped into it by a boyfriend. And they could be anywhere. It could be inside their home or on the beach or whatever. And so even inside the private space, there's not privacy.
Right.
And so boundaries are interesting.
Well, and we're getting even more interesting. So now we have this social media, which we are taking inside the private space, right? You just define like the public, semi-public, and private spaces. Now social media, we are bringing people into our private spaces, and they then assume that they have the right to our private space and to our private lives. And even influencers, like they're creating, I don't want to say fake. I'm trying not to say the word fake. They're performing. They're performing for you. Contrived. Okay, that's a good word. They're performing for you. This is a performative life that they're showing you. This is not their completely true real life. Like the boyfriends are not always happy and shirtless. They are sometimes fighting and wearing clothes. Like this is not how they live their lives, but they've brought you in, and so you feel like you have this connection and this right. And I think, reversing that, where have you allowed maybe people to cross your boundary to bring them into the personal, and where have you maybe been sharing things that really should stay with you, that are part of you at your core, that you don't need to be broadcasting, let's say, right, in this metaphor?
Well, there's the idea that is this in where does this come from? Is this, what's the science of the super small?
Quantum.
I think it's quantum mechanics that says that the very act of observing changes that which is observed.
Yep.
And I think that it's difficult to say that something is authentic once it's been recorded and shared, because most of life is not that interesting. And if you've recorded something and it's that interesting, it's probably been contrived to some degree. And so, with that in mind, you haven't really let somebody into your private life if you've curated something about it. Your actual life is probably not particularly interesting.
Well, there's this spousal couple, and they're very good actors because they make it look like it's a candid video, like the wife is playing tricks on her husband by having the lights turn on and off and creepy dolls appear at the door, but the camera is set up 3 feet from his face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like watching a very intimate moment on film and being very moved by it, and then realizing there was a camera 6 inches away from their face for this whole scene.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was 30 people in the room.
Yeah.
You know, like there was 30 people in the room that like they were on a set, there was lights, like, you know, you when you kind of get attached to media, like it's fine. I mean, that's why we create it, right? Because we have emotional reactions to it. But then you have to like take a step back and be like, this was completely contrived and created to evoke emotion in me, to evoke a feeling in me. And I have to separate. And reality shows, like reality, it's never been. It's all clickbait. You know, it's all emotion bait. So I guess let's flipping this back to the context. Like, let's get back to the context.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was about to say, my understanding is that MTV is going to go off the air at the end of the year. I think I heard that right. That December 31st, 2025, they're doing something huge that's removing something. I don't know if MTV itself is going off the air or not, but talking about clickbait and reality, the real world, I know in retrospect, the real world is kind of like the slow erosion that undid MTV. It's like, why did you have an M in your logo these last 25 or 30 years? But in terms of boundaries and the reading and the card, when you are complimenting yourself, bragging about yourself, making a mantra, and deciding, especially if you're going to let other people hear it, what is the relationship between authenticity and performativity and necessity? So if you are having to externalize your mantra and purposefully having to build yourself up around other people, the impression I get is that this is something defensive, potentially. And, you know, just be aware of what you're actually sharing and whether or not it is actually necessary or authentic, or whether it is contrived. And if it is contrived, is it still true? Something that's contrived can be true, but, you know, is it necessary to be performative? So when you are bragging about yourself, and I'm not saying brag about yourself, I'm talking about brag about yourself, like the inner part of you that actually animates who you are as a character and a person. Brag about that. Not just yourself, but yourself. So you brought the idea of the observer effect, and you brought up the idea of true self just there. And I think this is good. What's happening is this is a call to look at your core self, your true self, right? The you in private. And where have you been changing or maybe compromising that for the views of others? And I'm not even talking about like as an influencer, just when you're at your job, you're putting on a face, you're putting on a performance in order to get paid. And, you know, you act differently at work than you do at home. And where are you compromising your true self in order to create some of these exterior facing, public facing creations? And what is that doing to you? What is that causing you to happen? Go back to that. You're the progress in work. Well, it sounds like code switching, and what code switching is necessary and what code switching is not. And that which is necessary and forced upon you, is it productive or is it destructive? And just understanding the way in which we're sharing ourselves by trying to bolster ourselves. What is the effect of this?
you brought up code switching. I was actually literally going to talk about it. Like we're in tune, we're in sync. But code switching is something that's forced upon most people that do it. Now, I mean, there's cases where it's just become natural. Like, I think no, let's not go down that path. I don't want to get. I don't want to get. I don't want to get lost on that. Yeah, I was like, no, let's not go there. But yeah, code switching. Like I think the question here is, where can you become more true to you, even though you're in environments and places where you might need to project, and how can you reconcile those two things? How can you be more authentically you in a way that doesn't hurt you? Performing at work probably doesn't hurt you, but it might. And you have to kind of take that into consideration, like, how much of not you are you being, and does that affect you?
And does it undermine the part of you that's still, being held sacred and quiet? Because I mean, most people are code switching to some degree. Like, I find it difficult to believe that everybody is that happy every time I talk to them at their place of business. I get it.
That's even code switching. That's just performative.
Yeah.
It's capitalism.
Yeah. It's like, but in terms of the reminder here with being a progress in work, we don't have to be perfect. We're making progress within the work that is us, because art is artwork. And if you are a spiritual sculpture, or you are in a soul-based painting, however you want to think of yourself, that's fine. It's on you. You can be dancing through your life, writing your own story, however you want to think about it. You are the architect building your life. I think that's number 3 of 49. It's all progress. It's all an ongoing process. So whatever it is you're affirming in yourself, it must have needed the care. So go with it and understand the context within which you feel you need to do it.
I'm going to pull a card, and let's see if we can keep this thing going. Interesting. Okay. I got a lot of my third eye is very buzzy right now.
It's the 27 of sand spurs.
Oh, interesting. This is
Was I close?
No, but this is third eye. So this is number 11, defend. You are called to defend the actions you take. This is the justice card in the tarot.
Okay, so as you go forth, performing yourself as best you can, understanding why you're doing it, and if somebody calls a question to it, being able to talk about it and literally defend it. But also, does that mean that if you can't defend something, you should be nimble enough to make change?
Yes. So, this is interesting. So this is the intersection of brow and heart.
Okay.
In my system, and it's the justice card from the tarot, and it scales of justice, Themia, the goddess, like this. That's kind of iconography that the tarot puts around this card. And the reason that I talked about defend is because defending doesn't mean you did something wrong. Like we talk about, like I'm gonna be doing this myself. The dissertation defense, right? The idea of getting up and defending your work, defending your knowledge that you've gained and the contribution that you're making to the literature. So you can think about it that way. You're defending the contribution that you're making to the world. And yes, sometimes you might be like, oh, oops, that was wrong. Yeah. I shouldn't have done that. But it also can mean like, yes, I was absolutely correct in what I did. I was absolutely doing the right thing for the right reasons. And that's important. So it's a chance to kind of align yourself. And it's interesting that it's intersecting with the heart chakra, because it's talking about that balance, that edge of something, right? That sharp edge between, defense and offense, and, the double-edged nature of how we walk our lives. And we've talked about this before on the podcast. The idea of like intention versus action. Is one more important than the other? Does one influence the other? Does it matter? And that's the kind of energy that kind of fits with this card. And it's just a reminder that you do have to understand why you're doing things. You can't just be reactive. Like you can't just be a reactive entity and not consider why you are doing the things that you do. And I think this is something that's troubling our, people right now. I think there's a lot of people that are just reacting and they're not thinking. And so when we call them to account, that's a foreign idea to them.
Yeah. And I think that people value their own opinions too much. Well, that's my opinion. It's like, okay, but your opinion is worth as much as anybody else's. It's just as valid as anybody else's. So what if it's your opinion? Where the third eye and heart intersect in my system, it happens in two places, where blue is on top of green or when green is on top of blue. But both of them have to do with the way in which you exchange information with people. Because if blue, third eye, is insight and green, heart is connection with people. If with your card, with defend, would you say that blue is on top of green?
Yeah. This would be brow intersecting with heart.
So in my system, that's where collaboration comes in. So you don't have to know everything. It's not your responsibility to take on and know and perfect everything. There's other resources around you. There's other people around you. So for example, in the Sassy deck, it's recruit some geniuses. You don't have to know. Engage brilliant people. Trust their wisdom. So the idea here, whether it's defend or collaborate, there's a deeper knowing and understanding of what something is and why it's happening.
Well, a defense is a collaboration. Yes. It's someone calling account. It's you offering your defense. And oftentimes it might be someone prosecuting or challenging, but it is a collaboration. It's maybe not everyone's favorite collaboration, but it is a collaboration and it does get to better things. The defense of your dissertation, that's collaboration between you and your committee. Like it's not like, you just pick three random people and be like, tell me why you deserve to have a PhD. Aww.
No, I mean, my relationship with my committee was how do I say this? It was atypical. There were three people on my committee. One had been trying to get pregnant for years and finally did and then disappeared. One went to India for a year and was completely off the radar. And one was working full-time in New York City while I was in Los Angeles. And he was pursuing his own work as a professional dancer and choreographer across the country. And I had to bring on a fourth person to handle the research portion that introduced which topic I was even going to cover. So it was a strange relationship. And when they all three finally came back together, one of them never actually intersected with me at all. I'll tell you a secret. Here we are over 20 years later. I don't mind telling you. One of my three, the one that went to New York, he never came to any of my presentations. He never came to any of my choreography. He never saw the performance. He never read the dissertation afterwards. He was not present for the defense itself. He signed off on my dissertation without knowing anything about it at all. And that was extremely disappointing because he could have been a really important mentor. And instead he was, fucking around with his own stuff in New York City while he was being paid to be my mentor. So you have to be careful who you bring onto your team.
That's a good point.
You have to be very, very careful. And then the one that was trying to get pregnant and finally did, she ended up turning my entire project into a dance about her pregnancy. So that was disappointing.
You just, have some very negative things that have occurred to you?
It's been, there's looking back across all these experiences, whether they be scholastic or professional or really anything, my intersections with people in power have consistently and constantly been very, very negative. It's one of the reasons why I absolutely just cannot envision working for somebody else, because I've never had a good boss.
I am sad for that. I wonder what lesson that is for you. I don't know. I wonder what energy that, like, there's many ways of looking at that, but like to me, an interesting question is, why do you attract these people? Like, because it's not, and I'm not trying to pick on you. Because I think our listeners have the same problem.
Intersection of issues, but
I think our listeners have the same problem. Like your private committee, right? Your private dissertation committee, which is there to make you stronger and better. Mm-hmm. There's people listening to this who have your dissertation committee, which is a bunch of people that aren't there to make you stronger and better. So why do you have them? Why did you attract them? Why did you pick them? Why did you let them in? Maybe you didn't pick them. Maybe somehow, like for you, they were forced upon you in some cases. Like, why did this happen? Why didn't you have the ability to fill it yourself? I mean, these are not questions that have like answers. There's no accusation in them, but it is, since we're talking about looking at the self, looking at the core self, what have you done or not done that has brought this energy into your life? And then how do you set a boundary and get it out, right? Like you are ultimately in charge of your dissertation committee. Like that's the weird part about this whole thing, is ultimately you're in charge. It's just, there's a lot of authority that kind of reigns over that. And if you fuck with that authority, you can get in trouble. But ultimately, especially in the metaphor that we're using, right? Not just on the literal dissertation committee, but the metaphor of this committee, you are actually in charge. No matter what anybody else tells you, you are in charge of who you put on your committee.
Yeah, I agree. And, when you decide who you're going to collaborate with or intersect with, you have to also take into account that those individuals also have their own lives. Like the one that was never present for the entire 2-year process, he had these huge opportunities in his own career. So I'm not mad per se, but it was extremely disappointing that he didn't even know he didn't know anything. I don't even know how he could sign off on the thing. I really don't. And in fact, he didn't sign it until like 2 weeks after I left. He like flew to Los Angeles just to sign this piece of paper and then flew back to go back to his career doing whatever he was doing. So he flew, was that 4,000 or 5,000 miles round trip just to sign his name on a piece of paper for me. But she couldn't have known that she was going to get pregnant in the middle of my process. And of course her and then it was twins. Her twins are more important than my thesis. I get that. She's a new mother and I get it. But I what I didn't anticipate was her stamping her own life onto my project. And in terms of the one that went to India, he was, how do you turn down an all expenses paid year in India to study Buddhism or whatever he's doing? He's a celebrity and so is his brother, and they're Buddhists, and it's fine. But the reason I selected them was because on the surface, they were at the time, the tip of the top of these are the needle point. They're that important in what I was doing. These were the people to work with. It just wasn't the right timing.
Well, that's a very good point. Sometimes I think we form our personal committee based on who we think we should have on the committee. Mm-hmm. And we look towards reputation and performative things, right? So the performative things that make people them, we don't look at their true selves because we can't sometimes see that. But maybe you have pulled in people that are way more performative than they are real, and you've got them in your committee now, and they're leading you astray, right? They're trying to push influence down on you rather than what defend really means is it's a chance for you to reconcile with yourself. They're just there to reflect, right? So if you've got an accuser, they're just there to reflect. Like the original Satan in the Bible was the accuser. His role was simply to call account for what was happening, to give a counter argument, to show what was, by inquiry, show the truth. And that's what your committee's there to do, is to help you realize your truth. If they're trying to tell you your truth, like, if you're in a religious context and you think that, your pastor needs to be on your committee, but they're trying to push things onto you, that's probably not the right. Like, I understand that, your world tells you that, well, that person their opinion should mean more, but it's it's about you. You can be, I don't think you are, but you could be listening to this podcast and be deeply, deeply Christian fundamental.
Welcome.
I'm surprised to have you here, but I'm that's great. I'm glad you're listening to this. But the thing is that you yourself need to account for yourself, and you should be authentic to yourself to know why you're doing what you're doing, why you believe what you believe, and why you take the actions that you take, and be able to defend that to yourself. And if you can be in alignment, that's the goal. The goal is to be in alignment and to have your true nature, your true self aligned with what is good and what is right.
And that conversation doesn't happen in an echo chamber. You need to have these kinds of conversations with people who will challenge you so that you really understand what you're defending. If you just defend something and somebody's like, that's great. Well, you haven't. Have you really learned? I mean, it's not that forming a defense has to be some kind of a battle, but it also isn't a kumbaya circle around the fire either. No. To really understand something well enough to defend it, you have to go to some uncomfortable places, and it will change the way you consider your original point. That's the whole point of having a thesis or a hypothesis. You have to test it and find out if it's correct.
Well, it's hard to, if you have a reaction, right? And then you have to defend your reaction. You have to get down into the nitty gritty sometimes, and you have to be like, oh, that was a gut reaction that was not correct.
Yeah. And you grow because you're a progress in work.
Yep. And that's perfect. That's a perfect way to cap off this card, is that this committee makes your dissertation, right, your opus, better, but you're never quite done with it, and that's okay too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, let's get a third card.
Okay. We're staying sassy.
Of course.
Because why not? This is a morning of OPP dancing with neighbors, so of course we're going to be sassy.
I do have to point out that we had card 11 in the major arcana, and we had we talked about the 11s and 5s at the beginning of the episode, and then we had 11s and 4s on your card. So there's a lot of 11 energy happening today.
Well, right now we're going with number 28, which is in the green cycle. So that's heart, wood, I love, and how it intersects with the solar plexus, yellow, fire, I do. So how the connections you make are influenced by the choices that you make. So green on yellow. Oh, this is a nice one. Exchange juicy juju. Who brings you joy? Send a thank you note. Pay specific affirmations. Exchange juicy juju. Who brings you joy? Send a thank you note. Pay specific affirmations.
I mean, this follows up very nicely. Juicy juju.
Juicy juju.
Juicy juju.
And, the idea here is that you are exchanging this thriving energy. If somebody has helped you to grow, let them know that. And if you're able, something beyond just a thank you, you're great. Why? What? Be specific. People enjoy specificity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, broad umbrella compliments are nice, but if you can get specific about something, people really like that kind of nuance. And then you are giving back to them some of the light that they gave to you that helped you grow. The green cycle in my system, at least in the haiku, uses lots of plant imagery because the elemental is wood.
Mm-hmm.
But this is probably photosynthesis if I were to go look, where you have wood interacting with fire or wood interacting with light. I mean, that's the way in which action and energy and light pours transformation into a plant. That's what photosynthesis does. It gives the energy, it provides the energy needed to grow and change. So if somebody has given you that, put out a flower for them.
Mm. Mm.
Exchange the juicy juju. Don't always take. It's good to receive. Some people don't know how to receive. So first and foremost, do you know how to receive graciously and with a sense of gratitude and thankfulness, but also give it back where you can, so that you have a cyclical kind of connection with this person who is nourishing you.
You kind of were mentioning specific affirmations, and that, that's being seen, right? When you offer something specific, someone's not just being like, "Oh, you're a great guy. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks."
They're like, "I really like how you did this, and it was very beneficial. It was important to me. You helped me to be better, to accomplish something that I couldn't have accomplished by myself." Like, that's being seen, right? You're taking the actions of others and saying, "I see you. I see what you did. I see you, and I thank you for it." And that's an important thing.
Or letting somebody feel heard. Mm-hmm. Seen and heard are the two I run into most. I feel seen, I feel heard. What is it like to be felt or smelt or tasted? We're not just seen and heard. There's other ways to appreciate people as well. Without it diverging into something that's sexual. That's not what I meant by that. But when somebody, like with smelled, I feel smelled. I've never heard anybody say that, but let's look at it for a second. Okay, let's say that you went to the trouble of making a really great meal. I mean, talk about the nuance of, or somebody else has made a meal for you. Let them feel smelled and tasted. Like, be specific about what you liked about the meal. As an example, this is a great meal. No, I really like the way you took the time to toast the bacon before blah, 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 blah. Whatever. Be specific. We're not in American culture given enough. We're not given enough positive reinforcement for specificity. We just talk in general terms because we're trying not to offend people. Well, be specific. That's where people really learn and grow. On those cooking shows, here's an example for feeling tasted. On all these competitive cooking shows, some of those chefs are just outright assholes. Just outright maniacs. But the ones I enjoy watching, I think there's a British baking show that my neighbor watches. I think it's called the British Baking Show. And they give these lovely little compliments. Like,
Great British Bake Off. Yeah, people love this show.
It's a marvelous little show. It's like, I really like the way you crystallize the layer on top of the blah, 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 blah. It's like, oh, wow. Okay, no, that's really okay. This creme brulee is good, but why? Because the top layer is so specifically crystallized. It's like, okay, be specific.
Yeah, people adore that show. It's a comfort. Because we in America, we do have this, like, everyone's in cutthroat competition. No, you're not. If you bake wonderful cakes, you can have your store right next to somebody who does falafels, and that's fine. And people will shop at both of your stores because you make complimentary things. And yes, you might have an Italian place and a Greek place and an Asian place all in a row, but people will patronize all three because they don't want the same food every night. They want different tastes, right? You just were getting into that. They want different tastes. They want different things. You are not in cutthroat competition. And I think this is just a good message at this point. You are not in cutthroat competition. In fact, game theory shows us that mentality creates everyone as a loser. If you think that you're in cutthroat competition, if you think it's a zero-sum game, then you will always lose.
Yeah, even when you win. Because you're just relieved you didn't lose, and that's not really enjoying victory, is it?
I mean, this is why billionaires keep gathering more and more money, because they've gotten to this mindset where they have to compete. And it's like,
yep.
$1 billion, what are you going to do with that? Like,
let alone hundreds of them.
Yeah, what are you going to do with that? There's nothing to do with that.
Well, what ends up happening is what they do with it ends up being nefarious a lot of times. And in terms of karmic energy, if you're contending with karma the way billionaires deal with money, then you're in for some dangerous times ahead, because what are you going to do to finally, I don't know, what is the point of accumulating all of this? Just to do it? Just to fill a hole? There's a $300 billion hole inside Elon Musk somewhere. There's something going on, but billionaires, I don't know how they can there be a moral billionaire? I don't think there can be. Just
like there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, there's no ethical way to be a billionaire. There just isn't. It's off the exploitation of others. That's the only way to accumulate that kind of wealth. And this is the problem we have, is like we've got some pretty popular billionaires, like Rihanna's a billionaire, Taylor Swift's a billionaire, Oprah. I think Oprah's a billionaire. If she's not, she's very high up there. Yeah. And I personally have a very fond affection for Oprah, and I really I grew up with her as a role model. Mm-hmm. So, but it's hard because when you build an empire like that, you build it on the exploitation of workers. That's just that's capitalism.
You also build it on the exploitation of, in her instance, attention. So I used to like Oprah a lot, but I will always choose Janet Jackson over anybody else in terms of celebrities.
Well, it's not a competition. It's not a zero-sum game. We can like both.
Well, no. The way she's thrown Michael Jackson under the bus multiple times just for clicks is not okay.
Oh, true. Okay. I won't get into that things, but
she does stuff for clicks because she's a news person, and that's what that's her stock trade. She needs attention, and I get it. But like, she created those schools in Africa that were supposed to get these girls educated. Instead, it got them all raped. Now, that's not her fault. She didn't set that up. But even in a situation where a billionaire tries to do good, other people come in and mess it up. And then she's paying these people to rape these little girls. She doesn't know she's doing it. And she specifically wouldn't want that, since she's a survivor of terrible sexual assault herself. But she still accidentally paid for a lot of sexual abuse in Africa when she was just trying to get these little girls educated. So it's almost like you can't, when your scale is that big, you can't help but trip over into evil, even if you don't want to. Because to get that big, you have to interact with so many people that somebody's going to inject that darkness in there, whether you want them to or not.
Yeah. What I was saying,
I admire that. My God, I remember in the 80s, she was just magnificent. The first time I became aware of her was actually in The Color Purple. It's just magnificent. She
doesn't consider herself an actor. She did Beloved after that, and then she decided she wouldn't do it anymore because she just didn't feel like she could.
Well, but she does really tough roles. Sophia and I mean that's a tough role. So it's not that she is a good or bad person, but by way of her growing fortune, it puts her into contact with unintended bad consequences that she then feeds by accident.
Well, the point that I was making earlier is just that, we shouldn't compare women celebrities. But that was just a side note. I think to what you're saying is important, that as we are called to defend, there are unintended consequences of our actions, and we do need to own those as well. And they're not comfortable, right? It's not comfortable to know that your money went toward violence.
Violence.
And it's not like this happens with abuse of power, and you give money and power to people, and there will be abuses, and it's rampant. I don't know that it's human nature that, we've talked about this before. There's something about there's a tipping point where it becomes okay because we're just far enough removed from them being my neighbor to them being an other or a them, and then we can act upon them. And it's no longer.
You mean in terms of bigotry?
In terms of anything, I want to write
Othering.
this. Yeah, I want to write this book because there's something morally where we reach a tipping point of scale where we can turn off empathy and we can turn off morality and be convinced of our actions. So I mean, I don't want to go down another moral tirade. I've done that enough, and we're coming up on an hour of this episode. Just being about defense, right? Being about understanding your true self and how it's resonating. Like this idea of the juicy juju, where I want to come back to that. There's an abundance there. Mm-hmm. Right? Juicy things overflow. You can't take it all in yourself. There's more. It runs down your chin, right? Like it juicy, right? It's like there's so much there. Share it, I think is what I'm hearing. Share that, like you said, the collaboration. Share it with these others. Exchange it. Sometimes they're going to need it. Sometimes you're going to need it.
Well, it's the cycle of receiving and sharing, the way in which that feeds not just your own growth, but everybody else's as well, so that you remove the zero-sum game.
And your defense is going to help those that are on your committee. This often very much happens. You write your dissertation, it's your work, and then you and your committee members write articles about it because there was collaboration, and you make each other better, and you make the information in your dissertation better because of the collaboration. So you're going to inspire people by your defense and by your honest defense.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I'm going to pull another card here. Okay, we got one. Oh, we're staying high. This is number 18, an intuition. In the dark, you only have intuition for eyes. In the dark, you only have intuition for eyes. This is the moon card.
Are you saying the tarot. Are you saying to trust instinct, well-informed instinct?
Yes. And there's a sequence. This is the crown chakra in my deck. Mm-hmm. This is the crown chakra meeting, as you might have already guessed, the heart chakra.
Okay.
And there's kind of the crown chakra is kind of a story. It starts with a temptation, which is the devil in the tarot. And then you have a reversal, the tower, a renewal, the star, an intuition, the moon, and then right after this, a joyfulness, the sun, an awakening, judgment, and an emergence, the world. So there's kind of this story that the last cycle, that the crown cycle is telling you. And this is the moment before the sun breaks, right? This is the moment before the sun comes up and illuminates this new reality that you're coming into view. And in this moment, you're in the dark, but you have your intuition. Let's actually, I'm gonna pull out my book. I'm gonna see what I said in my book, because it's always interesting. It is easy to plot a course when you can see the board, and even the authority needs eyes to set paths in motion. Eyes can deceive you, though, lead you astray, or shift your focus from what is right and true to what is shiny and fleeting. The authority is responsible for the paths that all which is shaped must follow. They will wander about in the dark, left in their own. Yet it is in the dark that the authority must do their work. The spaces between the stars where only invisible paths and unseen forces are waiting. So with eyes closed, you make use of your intuition and trust that what you have gained What you have lived and what you know in your heart will hold you fast, will let you feel the eddies and currents of the gravities that may try to pull you down into unending darkness. You will chart this course. You will set this path. You will use your joy and grief to guide you.
Oh, that one's so deep I haven't hit the bottom yet. I don't know what to say about that just yet. It feels self-evident. I think in the last episode we had a reading that included discussing intuition and instinct. And so it's interesting it comes up again here, especially within the broader context of deeply understanding yourself better, understanding what you're defending better because of the defense, understanding how to receive and share. All of this is piling on nuance and depth. So when you come to this place of not seeing any guidance, you do have the guidance. It's inside you. Mm. You've been building this reservoir. You've been not building a reservoir. Well, yeah. You've been building a reservoir and filling it with interaction, filling it with discussion, filling it with ideas. So that when you come to this place where you have to operate on intuition, you're swimming in deep waters now because you filled that reservoir with so many conversations and so many interactions that you can feel comfortable trusting yourself, because it's not just yourself, it's the wisdom you got from other people as well. And it's not just their wisdom, it's been this nuanced understanding of their wisdom and how it congeals with your own. So when you're a well-informed person trusting your intuition, you are trusting the collective wisdom of everybody else that you've shared with. But coming to this point where you can trust that needs to arrive after these other journeys of discovery with other people. Looking at what happened with my committee, I had to do a lot of work all by myself. And it was difficult to get some of the pushback I needed to do all the defending until it was getting almost too late to do anything with it. But I still figured out a way to take their ideas and the discussions and bring it in. And I re-choreographed that show literally dozens of times. But at the end, when I finally performed that show, man, it had, you know how I am. Mm-hmm. It had nuance for years, not just for days, but for years. And what I started with would have been more entertaining, and I choreographed it very quickly, and it had a lot of depth, but not like what I ended up with. Not at all. And it wouldn't have been possible to get to those places without those conversations. As frustrating as some of them were, it was still necessary to delve deeper into that well. Mm-hmm. And going forward, as a result, ever since then, I have been very confident as a choreographer. I can walk in. I don't even need any preparation. I don't even need to work with dancers. You give me 1 hour, you will have a set piece of choreography that's 3 to 5 minutes long, and I will leave and forget I ever did it, and you'll be performing it because of the odyssey I went on with those people. So on the one hand, it was very discouraging, but on the other hand, it turned me into somebody who's very efficient and very confident with choreography. And now when I want to try projects on my own, I just go into it knowing that I'm going to do something good. And it allows a certain freedom because I don't have to worry about all the stuff that I could have, should have, would have done. It's like, no, I'm just going to go to this because this is what's good.
That's an interesting point.
They taught me how, not just to be confident, because I don't think they intended to make me feel confident, honestly. That just happened as a result of surviving the process. But what I learned is that I have good ideas and they need to be informed and shaped by other people. but they're good to begin with. And there's a lot to mine. There's a lot of gems in that. And I might need help finding them, but I know they're there. It's rich earth.
Well, it's interesting. I talk about gemstones in this cycle. The tower crumbles in a reversal, but then today's rebel is tomorrow's gems is the next card that comes up. The next step in the sequence is the pressure testing makes the gems.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of your journey. This is the crown chakra is an interesting chakra. There's a lot of things playing at it. There's a lot of interesting pieces. And in the reading and from the book, I mentioned the authority. The authority is the number 4 card, the Hierophant in the tarot. And I obviously wanted to divorce my deck from any of the
what is the Hierophant?
Like the Pope, but like
okay, all right,
yeah,
a religious leader.
Yeah, religious leader. And I wanted to remove Judeo-Christian things from the deck. I wanted something that's very neutral in terms of its ideas on spirituality. Mm-hmm. But the idea that there does need to be rules put in place was an interesting one, and the authority card I had a lot of reactions to. Like people didn't like the authority card, but it's necessary. The creator, which comes before that, the 3rd chakra, is all about energy and creation and generativity. But you could do all that. And I think this is kind of the point that you were getting to. Like, you can do all that. Like, you can come up with all of these fancy moves. And I see dancers freestyling or, young dancers that choreograph their own dance. And it's a lot of cool things that kind of flow together, but there's no rules in place. There's no order to it. And I think that's kind of what you talk about being confident. I think you learned how to set rules in place, because it's not just that what you make is good, it's that what you make is consistent, is whole, and has a purpose to itself.
Yeah. And it taught me that it's okay to make work that is challenging. I could make simple work, but I don't feel anything when I make it. I don't feel anything at all. You might as well just be rubbing the tip of your elbow. I don't feel anything. I like the stuff that takes years and years and years to make and nobody understands.
Well, that's the thing.
Well, not nobody. But it's different strokes for different folks, I guess.
I think I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to pull the last card from my deck. I have this buzzing that I feel like my deck's not done talking today. Yeah, let's see what we got. The Heart. This is the 7 of Storms. So this is the 7 of Swords in the tarot. There will always be another wind to ride. There will always be another wind to ride.
There will always be another wind to ride. And that's the 7 of Storms.
7 of Storms.
So that's an interesting concept, because in terms of ideas, there are trillions and trillions and trillions of ideas. Mm-hmm. And if one doesn't work out, okay, well, there's others.
There's others.
I have the impression, having worked with lots of creative types, that we have a tendency to get hung up on an idea that we become enamored with. And then we get very jealous of it and we try to guard it. No, my God, is somebody else going to see this? And the idea itself is not what has value. What you do with the idea is what has value. Mm-hmm. And the idea that there will always be other winds and other storms and other opportunities, that's very important to recognize, because you need the latitude to change your mind and to change direction without judgment. Is it called the lost cost fallacy? sunk cost fallacy, where we're afraid to change because we've invested so much in something already that we want to see it through to the end because we've already done so much with it, even if we see it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's called the sunk cost fallacy.
I think it is, yeah.
And people can do it with money. They can do it with creative energy. They can do it with relationships. Anything can become a sunk cost if you stubbornly pursue something, even once it's no longer working and has no hope of really being fixed. So there are always going to be other opportunities. Don't be afraid to shift. That's part of the wisdom that you've collected from all these conversations you've had and all this deep knowledge that you're using to inform your choices. You can do something else.
Mm-hmm.
You can do something else.
And the 7, we talked about 5-7 conflict. The 7s also have some conflict in the numerology.
Mm-hmm.
And this is often, something about deceit, malingering. There's a lot of laden meanings to this card, and I didn't take that route with it. It just didn't feel. It felt too much. Like it felt too much, and I think there is a sense of that in the inverse of this card, where you're cruelly hoarding opportunities and stabbing people in the back in order to get opportunities, instead of realizing that's just an amazing thing that they came up with. And even though, like, this is so silly. 12, 15 years ago, I did some sketches of some deconstructed male outfits. And one of the things that I had was sort of a thigh harness. And I actually created it so that twinks would have somewhere to put their phone.
Mm-hmm.
That was its thing. And then the whole idea of deconstructed pants, that like one side is a pant leg, the other is like straps, right? So like creating the architecture of the garment, but not having the actual garment. So I was trying to create like sort of male sexy deconstructed architectural ideas. I see a lot of those ideas in things, and I did share those drawings with some people, and now I see them out there in the world. And in my head, I'm like, is that my idea? Is that? But then at the same time, I realize I'm not the only one that knows what deconstructed architectural garments could look like. I'm not the only one that can have an idea for a thigh harness. The show that you didn't watch because you haven't watched WandaVision. The main male character has a hip or thigh pouch where he keeps his grimoire, and like it's exactly how I thought of it in my head. But I'm like, there's 1,000 people that have that idea, right? Like,
the wheel is invented in multiple places.
Yeah.
I mean, it was new to you, but it might have been new to other people as well. What it means is that it was a good idea.
Yes.
Good enough that other people would have it.
But instead of being jealous of that idea, like, oh my God, somebody stole it from me, there's always another idea. I'm not a designer. I couldn't make the garment. In fact, the way that I drew it probably isn't possible. It would require someone who's actually familiar with the architecture of garments to make it work. So yeah, this card is just a reminder that there isn't a need to conquer everything that comes across your mind or that comes across your plate. You don't need every promotion at work, right? You don't need every new idea that comes into your mind. You don't need to pursue everything with the same vigor. You need to be selective. And you need to realize that there's
priority, nothing is.
You need to realize that there's more to come.
Mm-hmm. You don't have to be good at everything. You don't have to win at everything.
And it's okay not to know. I was having that conversation with my spouse. It's okay not to know. I was on a call. I did not know what a terminal clean was. I was like, which terminal are we cleaning? And this person who likes to, one up everyone. Well, everybody in medicine knows what that means. That's where, and then it basically means the end. At the end, we do a cleaning. I was like, oh, okay. Like terminal is in the end. Okay. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Just moved on. Didn't even let it phase me, because that's how you combat those kind of things. Is you just let them roll off.
Whatever was happening to her in that moment, she was needing to feel superior. And, we have those moments. All of us do it from time to time, I'm sure. She was trying to inflict it on you and you weren't participating in it.
And that's what this card is about, is you don't have to participate in everything. You can let it go. You can let the pitch go by.
You don't need every participation trophy.
No. And you don't need every great idea that you think you've had.
Yeah, that's interesting. And when you open yourself up to having lots and lots of ideas, you end up like Prince, who has hundreds of finished albums in the vault. They could release a new Prince album every year for like 100 or 200 years. And they're not just that the songs are available. It's like, no, he actually assembled them into albums and they have cover art. He just put out albums, but he was making a song a day. Just writing it, playing it, recording it, producing it, finishing it, sticking it somewhere, and then putting it onto an album. Mm. But that's because he didn't feel like everything he did needed to be a hit. Mm. And that's one of the criticisms he had for Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis when they were working with Janet and other people. He told them that he didn't understand why they felt like every track needed to be a hit.
Well, I mean, it's the way the industry, again, going back to capitalism, it's the way the industry works. Like there's artists who make an album, there's a single, the single doesn't do well, so they don't release the album. I'm like, well, how does one song determine whether we're going to like 12 others?
Yep.
And you made it, you spent the money on it. Why wouldn't, like, how, it's really good. I can get up in arms about this, but like, where is it that no money is better than some money? Like, I've never understood that, how no money can be better than some money.
I was watching a YouTube video by an author, and she was actually going into details about her deal. And this was interesting because she got a $300,000 advance. So 6 figures, well up into the 6 figures. And when her book came out, they didn't do anything with it. It's like, she still got her $300,000, but it's like, why would you buy up a book just to own it and then not do anything with it? Because she said that they just like to buy up as many books as they can so that somebody else doesn't have them and they don't have to compete against this book. It's like, so they were wanting to promote some other book in a similar style and they didn't want to compete with her books. They bought it and then and they published it, but then they didn't promote it. And so it just floundered. And so now she can say, oh, well, I got a 6-figure deal. But it's like, yeah. And you also have to admit I had a 6-figure deal and didn't sell any books. Mm-hmm. So it's like they didn't do her a favor because now they've created this albatross on her resume. They created it. It's not even necessary. They liked it enough to buy it and then decided to just not allow it to compete with their other titles. Mm.
We have a members only. It's patreon.com/DeanSageMedia. You can get longer episodes where Jack and I talk about how the reading affected us personally, how we kind of are understanding the reading in our personal lives. So it's a longer show, a little bit more details about us, and you get to kind of roll around with the subject a little bit longer. We have a YouTube. It's Show Your Deck on YouTube. You can see our beautiful cards, and as we do the reading, you can watch the cards and how they form a lovely bouquet. We have books in our decks are available at showyourdeck.com. My books are available through Amazon and for free on Kindle Unlimited. Jack, your books are available through you. They're beautiful. You get a signed copy, and our decks are through a third-party distributor, which you can get access to off our website. Jack, where can we find you?
I'm at 49 Haiku. So that's the number 4, the number 9, HAIKU. On the interwebs, that would be 49haiku.com. And on Instagram, it is at 49 Haiku.
I'm Dean Sage Media. Find me if you dare. Our show does have an Instagram. It's at Your Deck, and we will say goodbye.